Our next speaker is a friend of mine, and I think she's a fascinating writer. Her name is Sarah Blau, and Sarah is an author, she's a writer, she's a journalist, with a very unique approach to Judaism. And she actually used Judaism as the basis for her work, but in her work, she all the time tried to challenge Judaism and Jewish myth and Jewish stories. And the basis for all her work is actually probably the oldest book in the history, the Bible. So please help me get Sarah into the stage to have a conversation. Perfect. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Nir. Ouch. Good start.
She likes to be dramatic.
God probably is angry already. Yes.
So, I mean, Sarah, maybe you give the context of where you grew up and what actually, so people can maybe understand, people that are not maybe familiar with the Jewish world, what is the world that you are coming from?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm a religion person, but I call myself a light religion, very light religion. You can see, but still I have it from home. I won't sit. You see, I brought this to cover my knees. I grew up in a more religious house, not a very ultra-Orthodox, but as I said, a religious enough. But today I call myself, as I said, a light religious. I have to say something in the beginning. You know, I myself, first time in Madrid, and you know, when you invite me here, I didn't ask you about the food, about the kosher food.
Ah, yeah.
I didn't
Good
ask.
point.
You didn't even ask me, but I didn't ask myself. And I eat kosher. I won't eat seafood, not ham, not mixed flesh and milk. And when I was going, I mean, in the street yesterday, I came and I look at the food, and it reminded me my first story, and I think my first short story I write, and I think it's a good example the kind of religion I am. My first short story, I published it when I was 28. It called Shrimp. And we, at the Judaism, were not allowed to eat shrimp. I never ate shrimp. I'm curious, I must admit, but I never ate. And I think I will never eat. But my first story was, and don't ask me if it happened or not, never ask an author if it happened or not, but my first story was about a religious Jewish girl who her first kiss was when she was 25, and the guy who kissed her a second before ate a shrimp. Yes, you intelligent audience, you start laugh before I even completed the sentence. So he kisses her, and she never been kissed before, so she doesn't understand, but then she have to ask him. She asked him, "Why did you eat a second before you kissed me?" And he said, "Oh, I ate shrimp." And yeah, that was a moment. And then she became very, she said, "Wait a minute, does it mean like I myself ate the shrimp? Like it's a sin? Like he like transform it into me?" And she, after that, she called her best friend and she said, "I've been kissed and the shrimp." And he said, "No, relax. I mean, the kiss itself is the sin. There is no double sin. So there's just one. You cannot combine sins." And in my story, she just asked him to eat everything she's curious about: shrimp, lobster, seafood, ham, and to kiss her. And yeah, this is, I mean, so as you can see, I myself, I don't do, of course, sins, but I like to, never, of course not. I'm a good Jewish girl. But I like to ask myself, what if? And now I remember I live at my parents' home till I was I myself today 46. I lived there till I was a very old grown-up person. And this short story, I was 28 when I published it, and I couldn't tell them, my so nice, kind, religious parents, that their good girl is going to write such a story. And I even remember it was published in a very famous paper in Israel, in the newspaper. It was 15 years ago, so paper was still very, everyone read it, and I couldn't tell them. And I even remember the illustration to the story. There was a painting of a young girl, looked like me then, with dark hair and a bright skin, and she was hugged by a giant orange lobster with all the... And when I saw it, I said, I can't... no, they can't see it. But then my father, it was Saturday and Shabbat, and he came from the synagogue, and he asked me, Sarale, can it be that you wrote something in the paper about kissing and pigs? The story was... and then I told them, I took the paper and I showed them. And then I remember what my father told me, and it's still every time when I write, even today, I remember his and my answer. He said, why are you writing about this? I mean, God gave you a talent. You're a good writer. So write about the beautiful thing about the Jew. Write about the Shabbat, write about the Bible. Well, after that I wrote about the Bible, but not as my father wanted, I think. But he said, why you write about this? And I told him, Father, I have to write, and I believe this is the essence of writing. I have to write what thing I have to say. I have to understand something about myself. I can't write about the nice thing, the thing that... I have to write something that my reader will never think about it themselves. I mean, this shrimp kiss, although it's not a good idea because it's not something I exactly invented, but I think that you should always give your readers something that they couldn't think about themselves. Like I will talk about the Bible and what I wrote about the Jewish myth. I think the reality is not enough for me, what happened in a daily life, the usual normal life. I always looking for the deep roots. Something is bigger than life themselves. And I think the ancient Jewish myth, I'll talk about it in a second, I find it there. But the whole story was, you ask what kind of religious I am. Well, I'm a who was a religious Jewish girl who wrote about shrimp kissing. I don't know, this is, I think, what this is the...
Yeah,
the
I think that what's important over here to understand, and I think that maybe it's even the city that you grew up is Bnei Brak, no? And Bnei Brak is probably the hardcore of Jewish people.
You know? Someone here knows about Bnei? Who knows what exactly the word Bnei Brak mean? Okay.
Probably only people that lived in Israel understand how hardcore it is. And the reason that I'm kind of taking the time to emphasize it, because I think that's what's unique about the work that I found, the work that Sarah does. Because when you think about the Bible, obviously everyone over here will have certain opinion. Some will think it's the holy book. Some will think maybe it's just a story. Some will say, okay, Bible's boring. At least that's what I thought. And then I started to see actually the approach that Sarah brings when she writes about the Bible. And as I kind of mentioned, all of us have this perception of what the Bible is, but when we think about the Bible, we don't think about something contemporary. And what Sarah does is actually she brings the Bible into the modern times. And what I think is interesting to understand is how you do it. The way you choose your figures from the Bible. Some figures that, even though I studied the Bible, you know, as an Israeli kid in Israel, I studied the Bible, I don't know how many years we studied the Bible, but those are figures that I never heard about the Bible, but apparently they appear. And all the time she kind of find those angles that we don't even think about, especially when it comes to the Bible. Can you talk about this a bit?
I think it's really complicated because when I grew up, for me, the Bible was a holy book. It wasn't just a storybook, although I think the Bible is very good written. The writer was very, very talented. But for me, it was a whole. If, for example, the Bible is fall on the floor, I should bring it up and kiss it. And when I grew up, and I start to think about all those stories I've been raised on, and I think I should start with an example. Although my last novel has something very strong with the Bible about a woman who does not want kids, and I find in the Bible some woman who didn't have kids, but I'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I want to start with something happened to me, and then I find the answer in the Bible. I'll talk about the play. A few years ago, I was after not such a good relationship, and I was really heartbroken, and I was mad. I was very angry. I felt very despair, and I won't go around. I wanted to kill him. And then, I started talking. No, I wanted to kill him. And then, for me, the stories in the Bible are my stories, especially the women in the Bible. And as I said, okay, I wanted to write a novel about a woman who has been heartbroken and what she thinks about the ex. And as I told you at the beginning, it's not enough for me. I wanted more. I asked myself, what a figure in the Bible, what happened then? But for me, it wasn't a love story. For me, it was like a fight. And the first woman that occurred to my mind was Yael. You know the story about Yael and Sisera? Yael and Sisera?
Maybe say
it's one, I said. Although Yael is one of the most popular names in Israel. My sister called Yael, there are many Yael in Israel. Although it was very funny because Yael wasn't a Hebrew, wasn't a Jewish. Yael was a Canaanite from the Canaanite tribe. And the famous story about Yael and Sisera, that Israel went for a big battle with the Yavin king, and his main soldier, his commander, was Sisera. He was a main hero. And one day, in the middle of the battle, he ran he was injured, a slight injury, and he ran to the tent of Yael. He thought because Yael was of the Canaanite tribe, he thought that Yael is his ally, and he can, he will help him. But instead, what Yael does is she said, okay, come into the tent. And then he asks to drink a water, and she gives him a milk, and probably made love to him. It's not said very correctly, but the Bible is not exactly very specific at all, that kind of thing. And after that, after he fell asleep, she take the tent, there is the stake, and she take the stake and she put it in his head. Like the reason I do this movement, because after I will tell you I did a play that I myself play Yael in this part of the show. But in this stage, I still wanted to write the novel. And I remember, I said, okay, Yael, who killed Sisera, it wasn't, and then I asked myself, why did she kill him? Although we, as a child, with the Jew, I'm as a child, learn in the school that Yael killed, still have it, yeah, okay, that's she. I learned that Yael wanted that the Jews will win the battle, so she killed the commander, she killed him. But if you don't, for me the secret is just open the Bible and read. not based on what you've been raised, not based on what you heard. Just open it and read the specific word in the Bible. And when I did it, I was shocked to discover that first, that Yael and Sisra was allies. I didn't knew that. I thought Yael was a Jewish. I mean, Yael, my sister is Yael. There are so many Yael. Who knew that Yael wasn't a Jewish? She was a Canaanite tribe. That's first shock. And then I asked myself, okay, if you read the story, why is Sisra ran to her tent? And how come they became intimacy so quickly? And then I asked myself, and what if, and this is for me the secret, I read the Bible and I asked, and what if? So I asked myself, what if she knew him before? What if it's not their first meeting? What if, and this is, I knew couldn't be, this is the part, all those what ifs could be very reasonable, but then I'm, as the writer, as the one that mad at the ex, I asked myself, and what if they, Yael and Sisra, could maybe, if they were exes, and Sisra left her, and now he's coming back. What if? And then I finally say, okay, and I write a novel about this, about a writer who writes about Yael and Sisra.
So wait, I want to stop you over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are rushing with our talk. And I think we are skipping a lot of interesting stuff. I want to take you one step back. And when we was last week, me and Sarah kind of had a conversation about what are we going to talk, and we spoke about our conversation for almost 1 hour. And I said, okay, how are we going to do it now in like half an hour? And what I like, and I think that's what the angle that I try to bring to maybe to this event, is the way you think about it. And the way you approach it is actually different, because when we started to speak, you told me, Nir, there is Sarah the writer, and there is Sarah the Jewish person. But when I have Sarah the Jewish person, then the Bible represents something. But when I come to the Bible as Sarah the writer, I look at it different. And then you gave me kind of a very nice metaphor. You told me, think about it like you're going to a business meeting with an important business person. You enter to the meeting, you already have prejudice about this person. You're already thinking who this person is, and you kind of shape the person, especially if it's the first time, who this person is in your mind, and then you act as the way you defined it. And you kind of took the Bible in the same way, and you kind of said, okay, when I come as Sarah the writer, then I come clean. And I think that's kind of what I often see when it comes to the world of innovation. If I try to put it a bit in context, we often see that when it comes to innovation, we often kind of what we call extrapolation. We take what we have today and we think where it might go. Instead of trying to take what we have today, eliminate it, and then ask what if. What if Yael and Sisra weren't ally? What if Yael and Sisra actually were exes? What if, and bring this what if process of even questioning the Bible into the writing process. And then you know, if I kind of, she started to speak about immediately how she jumped into to writing the novel. But before that, when we spoke, I asked you, what do you need to do in order to come clean to the Bible? And then we started to talk about the observation and bias. Can you talk about this a bit?
Well, it's interesting you said it's like coming into a meeting, because for me, it's like read the Bible, it's like coming to a meeting with a very, very important person, someone that I'm a little bit afraid of, someone that, for me, as I said, it's a holy book, so it took me years to look at the Bible in a new eyes. First of all, not to be afraid. This is, I think, the first thing. Just start reading. Rely on yourself. Today in Israel, it's a very interesting movement. Till our area, the people who read the Bible and wrote about the Bible and even dealt the Bible was a religious, most of them was religious. But today, more and more secular people start reading the Bible and make their own ways of seeing it. And we call it 70 face to the Torah. Like the Bible has everyone can find itself in the Bible. And first, you don't have to be afraid. You have to rely on yourself. Sometimes I ask myself, how can I, as Sarah, look at the Bible and think all those thoughts and write all those, look at all those giants who wrote about the Bible. So what? I myself, as a person, can do that. This is the first thing.
But how? Because
not to be, I tell myself.
You were also the first, religious, I think, female journalist on the TV,
Yes.
and you were the first female, and you were first in many things that you did in your career. Even though you come from a very structured society and very, in a way, close. How you break those barriers as a woman, before we even speak about your recent book?
Yeah, the women without
Yeah,
children.
we'll
It's
talk
also,
about it in a second.
No, you asked me. I try to explain it. It's you said why, how am I as a religious woman could do that? First, because I'm a religious woman. Two, I think maybe, I don't know if I want to talk about it, the feminine, I call myself a feminist. So when I look at the Bible, it's important to me. I think what helps me not to be afraid is to understand it's important. And I write about the women in the Bible. And I think most of the women in the Bible, well, it's been written so many years ago, they're not treated very nicely. Most of them are mother or wives or a grandmother, or hardly they just stand them for themselves. For example, Yael. No one, you see, I'm a little obsessed by her, but of course that's what, my favorite person. No, okay, so in the Bible story, there is a very short part of what happened to her. Okay, so she kills again, like the play, she killed, probably enjoy it.
I don't want to be the guy that
you're sitting in a very good, if you sit here, I think it was more, you're sitting in a good direction.
Yes. I'm thinking what will happen if you throw the microphone.
Don't worry, we'll talk after the panel. But never mind. But as I said, Yael, for example, the story of Yael in the Bible is a very short story. We don't know what after she kills Sisera, but what's happened to her? What's happened to her? Maybe, after all, like a woman who collaborated with the enemy. What her friends thought about her, the whole tribe. And no one cares about her. I feel sometimes in the Bible, like women are not exactly, for example, no one said in the Bible the ancient name, and after that, and they're all just male. No one, in the Bible, there is not just one woman say she's been born. All the newborn in the Bible are male. And I ask myself, why? Why? Even now I remember, sorry, I start to stumbling because it's make me so mad. I even now remember that, our mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, most of them couldn't have children. Sarah, like she prayed for children, and Rebecca and Rachel. And one of the major writers about the Bible, he said, maybe they had girls, but the Bible didn't mention it because it wasn't important. Just the male was important. So I asked myself, why? And were there those women? So if you ask me, now I understand that. How I do it, I feel I do something important. I think when you write someone, everyone, if they're here writers, you should understand, you should feel that what you write is very important. So what helps me not to be afraid of the Holy Bible is that I believe that I write important thing. Like I found those women in the Bible, and like I give them a new life, and I believe it's important. So this belief makes me be less afraid of touching the Bible, and I was afraid. I have to tell you that.
Okay, so we started to speak. You mentioned the Sisra, and your approach is always to kind of look for the different angle, and then we start to speak about the play that you wrote. And normally, the thing about the world of art, that normally when you have a successful book, then it actually become a play. But when you approached it, not only you took the story and gave the story a different angle, you also reversed the process.
Yes.
Can you tell us about this play that you wrote, and what was different about the working process?
Yes. It was very interesting. As I told you, I wanted to write a novel about a writer who writes about Yael and Sisra. And when I start write it, I understand it's not a book, it's a play about a writer who writes about Yael and Sisra. And I wanted to offer it to an actress that she will play it. And then I realized, no, I will do it myself. And I did it on a stage. But what was most interesting, and again, to think a little bit different, I said to myself, okay, so the audience watch me playing the writer who writes about Yael and Sisra, and she writes a book. And I asked myself, but what about the book? So what I found out, that after the play was end and the audience left the place, he could find the book that he saw me writing on the stage. So it was a combination between a play and the book. Usually there is, of course, a book and then you make a play out of him, but I wanted to reverse it again, to think the other side. So I play the character that wrote a book, and then you can find the book outside. Although I think it wasn't enough for me. I said, okay, I play in a play, a show, but after it ends, so what? Nothing left. I need the page. I think I need the word, I need the page, I need something to stay last. So I started, and then I said, okay, so what? I write a book, and then I make a play out of it, but it took years, what? And I said, no, let's reverse it. You'll do the play, and after the play, the audience can buy your book. You just reverse the process. And it was great. And I just have to say, no, it was great. And again, it was very, there is something to write. I mean, okay, speak or to write, but to play is something else. Like, you feel differently. Not just, you see, I again do that. It was my favorite part of the play. But it's like your body is involved. I mean, most of writers, I'm not a physical person. Okay, I sit hours for hours and write and think and art and eat so much. And each book cost me 10 pounds. I became and it was something else. Like I was on the stage and I was writing. I was explaining the audience the way I write, and it was so vivid and full of life. And the old version was because I just reversed the thinking. I didn't write a book and someone else made a play out of it. No, I said, no, I made the play, and after the play was a book. And I recommend it if there are some writers, you mix the media. It's very good.
I think this advice goes for everyone. I mean, that's for the people that knows me and the people that probably will get to know what we do. That's part of the thinking that we see, that artists have this dynamic about challenging everything that is around you. The way even Sarah is a writer, she put herself in the front as a player, and even normally it's well known that you write a book.
You can see the stake. It's like I hold. It's like the pen, but there is a pen, not a stake. You see it even here. Okay.
And I
We
think
have just a few moments. I want to speak about the last.
We will.
Yeah.
But before that, I want to ask you, when we talked about art, you told me, Nir, I don't care about the A leads to B, leads to C. I want to reverse everything. A can lead to Z, Z can lead to A. What drives you? Why you all the time need to challenge the order of how things being done?
No, I think it's making me laugh. I think I'm very unsatisfied, miserable person. And life is not like sitting here in stage in Madrid and so great. No, I think life is since I was a very young person, I remember myself not happy and unsatisfied. And I said, that's life. I want more than life. I want, but I didn't know what to do. And for me, writing was a salvation. Like I could create words, my own words. So this is what makes me. For example, my writing, my creation, made me come here to Madrid. Now my book are being translated. Now things happen. I mean, I wanted it. I couldn't. For me, and this is, I think, the last book. I mean, I myself, I'm not living the life that all my surround want me to live. And for many years, it wasn't easy. So for me, the writing was like running away from the reality, from the real life. I wanted more. And that's what made me, it's not easy to write. It's something could be very boring. It could be frustrating. You can't have an idea. Right now, for example, I wanted to write a new book, but I have no ideas. I have ideas, but they're not good enough. And always, you don't know. When you know the idea is good, you don't know. You have to try, and then you realize after a few pages, or maybe after many pages, it's not a good idea, and you leave it, and you start. It's not easy, but when it works, it's the best thing in the world. So that's what makes me drive.
It's amazing for me always, when I listen to artists, how when I think about innovation, it's exactly the same process. How I see companies thinking that they have the best idea without actually understanding that it's a process of testing different ideas and not being satisfied with the status quo in order to be able to invent a kind of the future. Because, in order to go to the future, you need to leave today behind. So, you mentioned your book, which I want to give kind of a context, and I assume that some of you will relate. So, in Israel, kids are very important, okay? You are supposed to bring kids, and as many as you can, okay? But the last book that actually Sarah published, it was this summer, no?
Yeah.
This summer, she published her book. It's called The Others, and it's actually tell the story of 4 women that actually going against the Israeli society by deciding not to have kids.
Yeah. Now, every time I look at I told my editor, I like this picture very much, but I asked her, I hope she's not looking sad. It was very important to me. She won't be sad. She's not sad, right? She's holding herself, I think, but not sad. But now when I'm looking at it, it's on a huge, she's looking a little sad. So I start to think maybe it wasn't such a good idea. I don't know. Okay, I have just a few minutes.
So before you will start, I want to kind of refer to something that I see that misconception that people have about artists, and then we talked about it. Often when you hear about artists, people think that they are sitting on the chair and waiting for the muse to come. But if you get to know artists are very hard workers. It's people that are waking up every day, go into the studio, if it's a painter, or if it's a writer, or if it's a sculptor, and they work for 12, 13, 14 hours, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7 days a week. And it's always kind of funny for me to see how people perceive artists as people that, just doesn't do anything without understanding the effort that require. And then we talked about how you got to this idea, and you mentioned the first process that it was very cold decision.
Yeah,
Why this
it's combined.
topic?
Okay, I'll talk about the inspiration and then about the story itself. Yeah, it's not just sit and say, oh, inspiration, come and give me your thing. And no, it's not like it at all. I have to work very hard to find the idea. And after I got the idea, I have to do some line, like it's a novel. It's many, I don't know, my last book have 26 chapters. So I wrote some line each chapter, what there is in the chapter. It was very cold. But after that, after this cold, hard work, when I start writing the chapters, then I could feel like, okay, let's be more inspirational, let's say memories, like less working like a robot. I mean, at the beginning, it's a very cold process, but after this process ends, the second part is more like memories, and I feel it, I sense it. It's more like people think about inspiration and art. But this is just the second part. The first part is very cold, hard, frustrating sometimes work. So you said,
why you
talk
chose
about
this
why I
topic?
chose. Okay, now this is then.
Women that chose not to bring
Look,
kids.
I have to be honest with you because sometimes it's people disappointed. Although I write about people, about women, it's a crime novel about women who does not want children, and they're all been murdered. And a serial murder who murder women who does not want to have children, does not do their duty, and after he kills them, he make them he glue a baby doll to their hand and write mother on them like some twisted dolls. And my heroine is a woman about 40s. She doesn't have children. And in the beginning, they think she's the murderer because she knew all the victims. But as long as the novel comes on, we understand that maybe she'll be the one who will be murdered. Now I have to be honest. I was quite honest till now, I think, if you ask me, but I think I will be honest. I myself, although it disappoints some people because they think it's my agenda, don't have children, it's not good. No, I myself, I thought I will be get married and have children, but I'm 46, it didn't happen. I thought it will happen, but you know how we say, life happens. I mean, I had someone, he wanted kids, but I thought, no, not with him. And then I wanted someone, but he didn't want, and then I became more and more,
I did this.
Oh, thank you.
When you say I had someone, I did
yeah,
this.
I should understand.
No, you say you changed hands, so I want to help you.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, nice. But when I was 41, 42, it's very interesting because I wrote it in my book. Two of my friends, my male friend, not my female friend who knew me, they did like an intervention. They came to me and said, Sarah, we have to tell you, you're 41. If you think about kids, now it's the time. You should go and make your own little baby. First, I was insulted. No, first I was terrified that they're going think like they going to be the father. I said, what are you exactly saying now? But then I understand, no, they just say, I will do a child by my own. And then I thought about it. And then this was a cold decision. It's not fit for me to do it alone in Israel. And in the religious society, I have two of my religious friends who did kids by their own. And the religious society is very pro this approach. They say, they all want you to be a mother. So I realized when I was 44, 41, 42, I said, okay, Sarah, you didn't get married, it's okay. Do you want to do a child alone? And then I realized it's not, I don't have the skills, it's not for me, I can't do it, and it's okay. I was very honest with myself. But in all this area, I said, okay, as I told you, when I write book, I have to understand something about myself, and I say, okay, this is going to be the book about women with no children, maybe they don't want, they don't have, but I didn't want to write a novel, a psychology heavy novel, because I know it will finish me. So I said, okay, I'll make a crime novel. It will be more light, like, okay, so he kills them, and then it's like no, it's not so light. But as I said, and this is like a mixed in the beginning, but I said to myself, I have to find something more deep root. I mean, women with no children, we think it's something very modern, right? Very European, very modern. But I ask myself, and what if? What if in the Bible there were women with no children? And this area, I mean, if you, woman without the children, it's like she should be dead, I think. You had no other meaning the life than being a mother. But I found, I saw that there was some women in the Bible with no children. No one said they didn't want. Maybe they didn't happen. I don't know. They couldn't get themselves married. But, for example, Miriam, the prophet, yeah, the mighty sister of Moses, who was a very mighty prophet and a very meaningful woman, she had no children. I find Deborah, yeah, Yael and Sisra. The whole story happened when the judge there was Deborah, the judge, and she didn't have children. And we had Huldah, the prophet. I mean, I actually realized that the women, there are so few women in the Bible who was major characters, like Deborah and Miriam and Lilith, and I realized they didn't have children. So I asked myself, maybe because they didn't have children, they have a time, opportunity to become such a powerful woman. And then it's combined, and I say, okay, good. This will be the story, this crime novel, but she had a deeper root. And in my story, after he kills them.
Don't tell them the story.
No, but I have to connect it to the Bible. No, don't worry.
No,
There's
because
so many.
we have
very
good news.
Okay, thank you for. Okay.
So the good news is that actually Sarah, in the middle of our conversation last week, she put me on hold for maybe 45 minutes, and you need to ask yourself how I stayed on the line 45 minutes, not how she put me on 45. But in those 45 minutes, she actually got the announcement that her book will be published in the US, Canada, and the UK in English.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe here. I want to come back to Madrid, so maybe Spain is on the line. Thank you very much.
So let's take one or two questions, and then we'll give you some time to have drinks. Questions? Don't be shy. Especially the women over here. Okay.
You.
Yeah. Just throw it on them. You can throw on them the mic. Exactly. Danny, do we have the mic? Try now. If not, I'll give you a...
No?
Oh, perfecto. Now we hear you. No?
Hi.
Yeah. Go for it.
My name is Jay. Thank you for sharing. I have one question, but before I have an introduction about some ideas, because I'm an artist or whatever, I don't know. Many things, because I was engineering in a multinational company, so I'm in a transitional process of my professional career, but I'm not agree with the pain during your inspiration. This is because your heart is not clean. When you are an artist, you feel beautiful around of you, because the beautiful is in the eyes of beholder. So why you are suffering when you are creating something? I cannot understand this. So maybe to connect with the ground, you need to connect more time with nature in order to clean your heart. And if you do this, maybe you can create with more beautiful things in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's very interesting to, what you say about connecting the nature, because maybe God is involved in kind of a way, because I myself, I'm not a very urban person. I don't go out, not in the sun, not in the nature. I usually in rooms with air condition. And I asked myself in the beginning of the year, I said, Sarah, what do you want to change? Why don't you go there, go to the nature in Madrid? Not nature, I mean like a real nature. And I started thinking about it, and maybe it's now, if you say it right now, I said maybe it's a correct thing. So thank you very much for the advice.
Great. More questions? What about the women? Okay, we
Yeah.
have over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one over there, and then we'll have a break. Great, over here. Yeah. Throw it. The whole point is to throw it. Yeah, I mean,
Did it work?
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't want to, I was going to ask, but now I want to answer to the person who just spoke. I actually think that maybe you didn't express yourself properly. I don't think that it's a matter that you're sad or like, what, I don't know what word you used, but you've said many times you always wanted more.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that means that you're unhappy or that you're miserable. It just means that you expect more, and so you're looking for that. And I think that's what Nir saw in you. It's like, the word is inconformista. It's like, okay, this is all right, but I know there can be something bigger. And so I don't think it's that
Correct, thank you.
I don't think you're miserable. It's just you're looking for that.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, very
last
correct.
question?
Hi, I wanted to ask you, you said you're a feminist and you're religious. How does it combine?
Yeah, okay, because I have just 1 minute, I can give you a very huge
know.
lecture.
You can throw it
I
over here.
understand the,
No,
Throw it,
Yeah.
throw it.
yeah, good, nice.
It's a nice mic.
I understand the question. I mean, of course, it's like, it's not coming together, being religious and being a feminist, because, not just in the Bible, but after that, in the Talmud, in the Gemara, the Mishnah, there are some very difficult things being said about a woman, what she can do, especially what she cannot do. But I think in the last years, especially in Israel, there is some movement of religion feminists. And there are more and more women that said, okay, we want our share. For example, when I was 12, the ceremony, the bar mitzvah ceremony, I just celebrated it in my home, and I don't know, we ate cakes. But my nephew, now she is reading the Bible, reading the Torah. There are more and more women that became a rabbi. There are more and more development that the women can take their place in the religion society. I agree that it's not a perfect world, and there is a long way. But as I said, I think I a little bit optimistic. And I tell you why I'm not exactly optimistic, because each good movement, like it's look like more and more people, women are feminists and everything is getting better. There are the against movement. And you can see more feminist religions, but more and more that try to, bring the women to their natural place at home and having children. And so I don't know. I try. I don't want to be, a few years ago, I thought I would be secular. I said, okay, there are so many things about religious that's not good for me. I'm not. But it was a very a major challenge to stay religion, to try change things from the inside. I don't know if I don't know about success, but I'll try. And I agree that it's not coming very along feminist and religious, but I try. I mean, I could like think different, so I try to think a little bit differently.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, very much. So what we'll do, we'll take now 15 minutes break. A few things, just pay attention to your belongings. It's a big event, and we want to make sure that everyone keep their stuff. And after the break, we will have Ilon Ganor, an entrepreneur and an artist, and just after, Ayelet and Ayelet, scientist and artist that actually exploring vision together. So stay. Ciao.